What's up, everybody? It's Soul Tomato, and today I'm partnering with Paradox to bring you an in-depth, hands-on look at the new Mandala government added in Southeast Asia. Having recently completed the A Living God on Earth achievement after an over 110-year run, the Mandala government ended up being my new favorite of those added in All Under Heaven, which I didn't expect. In this video, we will go over their new mechanics from Radiance to aspects, rituals, and decrees. I'll also show you how to upgrade your temple complex, how to make use of your tributaries and acquire more, and explain how inherited devotion works for Mandala rulers who wish to obtain the new highest piety rank, Godlike. We will be playing in the new 867 bookmark, Living Gods on Earth, as Jaya Varman, the third of Angkor, head of the Khmer culture. And so we are here in game now as Jaya Varman, the third of the rising new power in the Khmer. So I'm going to come over here to the Mandala government first so that you can get a better sense of the broader scope of their mechanics. So they have a couple new features, one of them being their new ability to get a godlike level of devotion. The way that you do this, if you come down here, the highest you can get in one lifetime is religious icon as your first character. So that used to be the maximum one. Basically what happens is once you die as a religious icon, your heir, so provided that you die in a normal way that your decrees allow, which I'll talk about in a second, you'll be able to acquire the next rank. So say if I die a religious icon and I die in a way that's satisfactory to whatever my decree is, my heir will have the potential to become divine. And then if they die in a way that's satisfactory to their decree or what have you, then they'll be able to become a demigod. Basically, to acquire godlike, you have to at least maximize piety with 1, 2, 3, 4 different characters. So you won't be able to do this in a single lifetime. So it is something that takes a little bit longer to achieve, but I think it also gives a great incentive to play a longer playthrough, which I think is a big reason why I like the Mandala government anyway. You also have your aspects, and these are basically your alignment with certain gods within your pantheon. So there's the aspect of creation, which tends to deal with stewardship. There's serenity, which is diplomacy. There's destruction, which is martial, and there's trickery, which is intrigue. I come over to my character. It looks like he is a stewardship focus, so we would probably want to ideally focus on the aspect of creation, which is focused on rearing legitimate children. That's like a big bonus to that, but we can look at those in a second. Tributaries are a big part of the system that we have here. So if we come down here to my Radiance map, and Radiance is basically like how divine people see you. This is based on your level of devotion, your Mandala aspect, and then the level of your temple. So if your temple is a low level, it's not going to give you much Radiance. We only have 5 right now. And so these are people that basically are within our sphere. So these are our actual lands, and then these are our tributaries. You can only have a certain number of vassals within the system. I believe it's 4. And then above that, it's either good to give them to other vassals or to just have people be tributaries. And to make duchies or any title, you actually have to use piety. So if I come over here to show you this really fast while I'm thinking about it, as you can see, we have to be 1, a devoted servant, and then have 2,500 piety. There's various ways to acquire piety with the new Mandala government. It's basically their biggest form of currency, like prestiges for tribals. Only I would say it's pretty easy to acquire. There's obviously pilgrimages and the obvious things, but there's different events that will pop up, different things that you can do that will also grant you piety. For example, since we are in this aspect of destruction, I do plan on changing this. But because we are in the aspect of destruction, winning wars and fighting battles will give you a little bit of piety. And it also grants you access to these 2 decrees, which if I come over here, I don't have a decree selected by default. A decree is basically what you're planning on doing. So because I have the warlike one, I can pass the expansion decree. This means that I get a little bit more levies. Winning successful offensive wars generates piety. Losing wars costs devotion, which is obviously bad. You can call in tributaries. A siege on a capital complex yields piety because you can attack other people's complexes. You can revoke titles, as always. Subjects are more inclined to warlike actions, blah, blah, blah. Basically, this is like your court is warlike, but it's a little bit more involved. You can also do a reverence decree, which focuses on converting people, pilgrimages, trying to make people of your faith more focused on that faith. So for example, mine is Vaishnavism, or it worships Vishnu. So my goal would be to convert as many people as possible to my own faith. Converting people will generate piety. People are more inclined to join your faith because of this one. So I think that this is what I'll do because we are a stewardship focused character. I don't feel necessarily like the aspect of destruction is a good choice for us. However, changing it will cost us about 50 more piety, so we'll have to get a little bit more first. The bonuses that you get for each of these they do vary based off of what they are. So this is like diplomacy, martial, as we said, intrigue, stewardship. So we're going to do a stewardship focus run for this one. I have done the destruction one. It's pretty fun. However, every level that you can increase it all the way up to, actually there's 6 ranks technically. So you'll go all the way up to the 5th one, and then there's another maximum rank. Everyone has different requirements. So as you can see, you have to be a pilgrim. You have to win more wars than you lose. You have to have won at least 6 wars, have to have won at least 10 battles. You have to have 15 martial, at least 10 prowess, and 3 champions with 12 prowess or above. We have none of these. This character is not going to get a martial that's that good. So again, it would make more sense for us to not use this one. But as an example, that's how you would advance. So once you have the requirements, you're able to upgrade your Mandala aspect, which will in turn go into your Radiance and give you a little bit of a bonus. It's not as much tied to this as it is the biggest thing would be your temple complex, which we'll show you right here. Right now, we currently have a level 1 or ornate temple, a humble beginning to a grand legacy. This ornate temple is a place to worship and pray to the ruling Devaraja, which is us. And if I wanted to do an expansion at this point, I am technically able to do that. I just have to be able to get Devoted Servant, which will then unlock the Great Works window. So we'll work on getting to Devoted Servant, which will happen fairly quickly. I'm going to choose my lifestyle. I'm going to do a stewardship focus, and I'm going to work on just giving myself as many stewardship points as I can. And then as far as our Mandala decree goes, I'm going to do the reverence decree. I'd like this to not be as focused on going to war, so I'm going to do the reverence decree. And so that way we're sort of trying to improve and convert people within our realm. So if I look at my realm to start, as you can see, not everybody is part of my faith. In fact, most of the people aren't. So I'm going to have my guy start working on converting some counties. It's going to take 11 years. There's nobody else within my court that's any good at this, so we won't worry about that at the moment. And one thing that's neat about this Radiance window is it'll actually show you if people are likely to accept being a tributary of you. I've obviously read is they're very unlikely, negative 1,286% or 61%. So technically I could work on swaying or maybe sending this person a gift, 25, and then we'll see. I'll try to embrace them as a tributary peacefully. I can ask for a meager tribute or I can ask for an expected tribute. There's a 73% chance that they'll say yes. It's going to cost me 75 piety. We do want to save our piety a little bit, but let's just try it just to see if we can't get this person to become a tributary of us. And so they said yes. They've agreed. And because we have this tributary, we can actually ask them for things. Now, there's not a 100% chance that they'll say yes to asking for gold. It doesn't look like they have a ton of gold, but we can ask, might as well. Let's look and see if all of our vassals are our faith. So this guy is not my faith. 21% chance that he would say yes, even with, I'm going to work on swaying him, so that's a little bit higher. This guy's of my faith. This guy is not. He may accept, 91% chance. Let's just give it a shot, because we'll get 150 piety if he says yes. And so he did, and we gained 150 piety. So with our, again, going back to this, with our decree being reverence, I can make people convert or I can ask them to convert. They're more likely to accept, and then therefore I'll get piety from that. There's a couple new court positions as well in the Mandala government. There's gurus, there's the court Brahmin, which is kind of like your priest, and then there's also the Klon Glon, which if I remember right, is kind of like your seneschal. We don't really have anybody that's good at anything, so we're gonna have to grab some of those at some point. Now, because I have 500 piety, I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna change my aspect to aspect of creation, which will increase my stewardship lifestyle experience by just 1%. I'll get a stewardship bonus per level of devotion, so every level of devotion I'll get 1 stewardship. We'll get a faster gain to lifestyle experience. I get the aspect of creation, which generates a streak for 10 years if you keep constructing buildings. So we're going to have to focus on building. We're going to do, we could do the prosperity decree with that, but I'm going to keep the one that we have. Natural causes and religion are the acceptable ways to meet death. So if we died in battle, for example, if I had the max level of devotion religious icon and I died at war, then that would not be acceptable to my aspect, if that makes sense. Whereas if I come to destruction, natural causes, religion, and combat are the acceptable ways to die with this aspect. So I'm going to try and show you how to increase it by at least 1. And to increase it to the first one, we need to have 25 trait experience in the pilgrim trait, have fathered at least 10 children, and have built 5 buildings. And you also have to have 250 gold. So I'm going to find some new spouses, a couple of them, to increase our chances of having more children, because we're 47, our wife is 47. There's not a high chance that she's going to have too many more kids. She might have like 1 or 2, but ideally we're going to want a few more than that. And if you come over here, you'll also notice that feasts and hunts cost piety, not money or prestige or anything. They just cost that. Pilgrimages, however, still cost money, and I do recommend going on a pilgrimage as soon as possible. So I'm going to go to Sri Thep just to get a bonus and start working on that pilgrimage trait to see if we can't get to that first rank. And we have an interesting event here. As we march through the foggy farmlands of Krung Poi Pet, an enormous stone shape looms ahead, wrapped in tattered cloth tangled with vines. I have come face to face with the head of a Hindu god, its ancient gaze peering into my soul. Which god is this, and was I meant to find it? I could say it's Brahma, I could say it's Surya, and I could also convert to Sorism, or I could say it's nothing. I'm going to say it's Brahma, and in our pilgrimage we'll become more pious and we'll gain 1 learning. As you can see, our goal is to probably try to get around a great pilgrimage. If we got it all the way up to 3, that would get me pretty much automatically to the first pilgrimage trait. So none of these are my faith. I'm going to try and convert all of my wives, because I don't think any of them are mine. See if we can't get some bonus piety here to start. So 2 of my wives, 2 out of the 3 converted. So we're here on our pilgrimage. We gained the pilgrim trait. You guys know how the pilgrimage works. They're the same as they've ever been. My divinity has grown though. We've gained faithful. You can also see somebody paid tribute to me recently. He came to me on a tribute mission because I asked him to, and he gave me the tribute that we talked about earlier. Sometimes they'll do this organically as well. You don't always have to ask them. And while we're there, we'll also look at some of the new buildings that we can build. So we have some towers. A lot of the stuff costs about 127. There's different plantations and things that we should definitely be working on building. And we have to get to devoted servant before we can plan our expansion, remember. So we're going to work on that too. And eventually there will be rituals that pop up, and they're basically like contracts that you would get as an admin government, or they also have them within the celestial government. They're a little bit different though for each of those, but they basically operate the same way. So we finished our pilgrimage. We gained 125 piety and 10 pilgrimage experience. We're well on our way now. We're at 30, so that's actually done now. If we look at our aspect again, we just have to have 7 children, build 5 buildings, and have 250 gold. A big way that we can do that is to try to get more tributaries. So people that we should try to be convincing. I think this guy, he would say no. This guy would not say yes to anything. We can also attack people, remember. You don't have to be nice. Even though I do have this aspect, I can technically be mean to people. And the way that you can acquire a tributary through war, as long as one of yours is touching them, you can just attack them. So this guy would definitely come help them because it looks like they might be their suzerain already. And they are, so they would definitely come to their aid. Well, this person has no suzerain, so I'm instead, because I don't want to wait for them to be my tributary, I'm just going to attack them, and then they're going to be my tributary that way. I won't be going to war because my character is not war focused, but my other people will. I returned from my pilgrimage, and I visited my ornate temple in Angkor, which also gave me some learning and stewardship experience. And I'm also going to work on seducing my wife now. I'm not going to work on swaying that guy anymore. Don't necessarily care that he's not of my faith. I think on average with even my non-focused characters, I usually have about 15 kids because you have 4 spouses. So we should be able to at least get up to 10. And he does have the bonus of having the architect perk, which is a bonus to our faith. And if we look at our faith, which we've not even talked about, in Vaishnavism, Vishnu is the Supreme Lord, and the most important devas are his many incarnated avatars, such as Rama and Krishna. Each of these various incarnations work to restore balance to the universe. They believe in reincarnation, bhakti, and preservation, which I believe, yes, building in a church holding or a temple citadel holding will increase county development, which is a good thing for us. They sort of stack stewardship bonuses with their faith. So it makes sense to do this aspect. You can also see that we have the house relations mechanic added with this DLC. So this will show you which various houses in the area we either like or dislike. We're quarreling with these ones because we just attack them. Doesn't really matter though because they are now my tributary. I don't think we captured any other prisoners, so. This person is now a tributary, and if you go on a tributary war, automatically they have to pay the highest amount of tribute. So if I come over here to my subjects, this person in particular, if I go to my contract changes, they have to pay the highest amount of taxes. I can also increase this to high if I wanted to, but I won't. And tributary war support is not mandatory if we are not from that decree that we talked about, so we can't call them into wars. So I just got lucky with a stewardship event, and now I have enough money to build a new building, which we definitely want to be doing. I'll probably end up doing the water management just because it increases holding taxes. So we'll grab that one for this. And because we're building that within our temple citadel holding, that'll also give us a slight bonus to development. And I'm going to do divine reincarnation just because it's part of our faith. And I'm going to say that my son is the reincarnation of my father. So now he has reincarnation. So when we play as that character, eventually, he'll be able to get a bonus to piety. And we now have a ritual that popped up. So we have sprouting flowers make an appearance in this place for a ritual. A strange bloom has choked the seedlings. The villagers believe it is your doing and demand that you restore the rightful balance. So these are basically like contracts that you have to come do, and you'll gain either piety or legitimacy. So we're going to take the ritual. We'll come over here. And of course, we'll try to hire something to prevent me from getting attacked along the way. Looks like Forders will work. Oh, why have you forsaken us, Devaraja, the head woman says, her voice heavy with despair. Our seedlings are being choked by telepogons. Not a single field has been spared. Without grain, we will starve. You must walk barefoot through the fields to tell the earth what should grow within it. Decrease the development of my capital. And to get a really nice bonus, I can also walk barefoot through here and get a chance to get ill, or I can just kiss the earth and that's it. Tempted to do this, but I'm gonna just walk barefoot with the earth come rain or snow. And we did not get ill, we gained a decent amount of piety. And I just had 2 children, which is great. I'm gonna work on seducing another one of my wives. Periodically, you'll get these events that pop up, and these are related to the Mandala government specifically. So as my chief priest concludes the day's official business, he begins to bless the court with verses of the Anumadana, the standard chant to close out the day. Just as rivers full of water fill the oceans full, even so does that given here benefit the hungry dead. A question suddenly burns in my head. Do I dare breach etiquette? I can try to get some piety out of this. I can try to get some prestige out of this. I can also try to interrupt with a better line. I'm gonna not let the intrusive thoughts win and just get a little bit of prestige from that. I'm also forming a bunch of alliances with people around me, in case you are curious. My son has just come of age, and he's turned into an indulgent wastrel. So not ideal. He's also greedy, which is not what you want, but you know, we'll have to make do with that. You can sometimes get rid of greedy as well. Also, for those of you who don't know, there is a new situations tab down here. So if you wanted to check out how some of the struggles were doing, or how the dynastic cycle was doing in China, or even just check out the Silk Road up here, you can see all of that very quickly with this menu, which I think is very handy. And you can also, through the decisions, check on your projects. So obviously we can see how we are doing as far as meeting the requirements, and then what the contributions will be when we want to upgrade that system. So there's a bunch of different things that we'll be able to potentially put into, or have our tributaries put into. Every once in a while, you may also get somebody who wants to submit to you as a suzerain. Generally, this means that they will probably accept something from you. So I'm just going to see if I can embrace him as a tributary. Expected is unlikely. Meager is likely. I can work on swaying him if I want to, but of course that would ruin my seduction scheme that I'm working on. So I'm just going to send him a little money and then see if I can get him to become a tributary this way. Again, same thing we did before. He may say no, but it looks like he said yes. So that's a good for us. And then we have another ritual. These will pop up pretty often, and then they are different tiers. Let's go down there and see what's going on. After riding through the wetlands of Priakon, we finally spot the pilgrims, weak, exhausted, and numbering in the hundreds. Their leader rises, voice trembling with fatigue. We are Theravada pilgrims searching for our promised land. Have you come to deliver us? Are you a Devaraja, or perhaps a god? I can say, I am Mara. Your home is in Visaya of Angkor, which it will be an intrigue challenge. I can also just say, I am Devaraja, and Priakon is your promised land. And this will give various bonuses. I'm going to try and do this because it's 51%, and it looks like they will... Oh, the faith will change to this. I'm going to do this one because I don't want my capital's faith to change, because that would be annoying. So I'm going to say I'm a Devaraja and Priakon is your promised land. Start a construction of a temple citadel in Priakon. So as you can see, they're building a temple citadel, and the faith has not changed. It has actually stayed what it was, which is good. And I'm going to work on seducing my last wife, so we'll have 3 lovers, all 3 of my wives, and then my main wife will, of course, who's 49, won't be able to do that. But hopefully this will allow me to get to the 10 children that I need, which I only need to have 5 more. So if everybody just has, you know, if everybody contributes just the 1, it'd be great. If you look, we got the aspect of creation, and this is a bonus from our decree, which can be stacked up to 10 times. So as long as we keep building things, this will keep going up, and we'll get better bonuses from that, because we just finished building our man-made ponds. We don't have enough money to really build anything else right now, so we're just going to hold on to it. There's also a special building we can build here, which is, of course, Angkor Wat, the massive temple complex dedicated to the deity Vishnu, a famous structure, of course, built by the Khmer. It's 1,600 gold, so unlikely that we'll build it in this one, but something to think about. So I'm going to war for another tribute, and we had a tribute mission come in. This guy strides into the Great Hall, sauntering up to me and presents his tributes with a sycophantic smile. I raise an eyebrow as the servants examine the handful of coins and ornaments that constitute this minor tribute. It won't fill our coffers, but at least Klon has fulfilled his tributary obligations. Now what benevolence should I bestow in return? I'm just going to reaffirm him. There's a bunch of different options you can do. I can lose 10 gold and give him an artifact. I can give him access to Armillary Sphere. I can give him a trade post, which I'll also lose 10 gold, or I can just reaffirm his rule, which will just make him recognized. So I'm just going to do that. He'll gain 100 legitimacy, and then I'll get 15 gold and 50 piety. Another daughter, so now we are at 7. Our divinity level has grown, so we've gotten to devoted servant. So now we can work on planning our capital temple complex upgrade. So we can start the project. And if we come in here, you can see all of the requirements. And there's various potential contributors. I don't have to contribute to this, but if I do, I will get certain bonuses to those. Generally, it's easier, in my opinion, to just have your tributaries do this, and you can just tell them to do it. They'll usually just say yes. If you're cruel to them, or if you're just like a bad ruler, sometimes they'll be less likely to contribute, and they'll also break away at times. Because we're not playing a war-focused character, really, we don't have to worry about that too much. So once I hit go, all of these should get filled up. Now, of course, if you have the resources and you want to get the bonuses for them, absolutely do so, but I'm mostly just worried about trying to actually contribute to the upgrade to the building itself, which will get us a majestic temple building, and you will also see it on the map. So if I zoom in here, you can see what it looks like right now, which it's right here. Angkor is right here, and once it's upgraded, it will look different, which I think is really fun. And I have now made a lover of all 3 of my secondary spouses. So ideally, we should see at least a couple more kids from them. And generally you lay with them after becoming their lover. So we should at least get 1 or 2 more right off the bat. And we've captured another tributary. No prisoners, unfortunately, so nobody that we can convert, but that's another tributary under our belt. And it looks like one of my tributes actually assimilated under my rule, and they adopted our government and also converted to our faith, which gave me 150 piety, which is very nice of them to do that. I appreciate that. So I've not shown you this yet, but there's other things that you can do with your tributaries. They're not just static individuals. I can demand that they convert if I want to. I can also, of course, come down here and impose my contract changes, or, which is really cool, I can ask them for a courtier, which can be pretty handy. And I'm actually going to use it to take his chief priest from him because I want a better one. So now I have a slightly better court priest and another daughter. So we are now at 8 children. We only need 2 more. We also have a new contract, and as you can see, this is a rank 2 ritual tier. Cattle of Maharose are barren, with few calves being born. Those locals request a fertility ritual lest their livelihoods vanish. We will visit post-haste. Oh, most great and divine Devaraja, hear the plea of my village, the headsman says, placing his hand on a scrawny heifer beside him. Make our cows bear calves again. He gestures to the villages, who bring forth great garlands of colorful orchids for the ritual. The ritual will last a month, and this will also mean that I stay here. I'll gain 28 stress, but I'll get a bunch of piety, or it'll just last a week long. I'm going to do a month. There's no reason for me not to do it. There's also an option if you want to try to convert somebody's land, you can send them a missionary if they're not the same faith as you. So for example, this guy, although he doesn't like me enough to actually do it, but if I came down here and I wanted to send him a missionary, I could potentially do it, and I would get a little bit of piety. And then the goal would be that eventually the missionary would sort of convert them, and I'd get the bonuses that you saw earlier. So now we've just built our second building, so our aspect of creation has increased now to 5% for everything. Because of my new stewardship rank, I extorted my subjects a little bit. I mean, you know, it's not ideal, but I need money, so that's what we're gonna do. I need 197 to build all of these, so I'm not endorsed by my realm priest, so I'm gonna work on that. Probably because I just extorted somebody, which is not ideal. And I believe we just had our final son, so I've had 10 children. I just need to build 3 more buildings and have 250 gold. What I'm going to do first here, though, is I'm actually going to go on another pilgrimage to try to get us a little bit more piety. I'll do a pious pilgrimage, and we'll go all the way to here, which, of course, I'm going to have to get boats because we'll sink otherwise. And this is going to cost a lot already because it's a dangerous road, and I'm not going to do ceremonial, but I will do the slower one because it doesn't cost anything. And we'll just go like this. So it'll cost us 100 gold, but it should allow us to get a decent amount of piety along the way. And I do want to point out the new map. Obviously, we haven't talked about it in this video because this is a tutorial, but the new map just looks incredible. The new details of it are really nice. And if you wanted to see a nice little breakdown of this, you can go into the terrain mode, and then we can see the terrain all the better. And it looks just wonderful. Really, really big fan. I'm going to test something out here. I'm actually not sure about this, but I'm going to try and build a lookout tower in this city holding within my realm, or in this area, and see if that counts as a building that I've built. And we gained another level of devotion, so we are already at Paragon of Virtue, and it's only been 7 years in game, just to kind of articulate how fast you gain devotion with this. And we've just gotten up to 2,500 piety pretty quickly, and now I can also create the Kingdom of Angkor, which I would love to do. We will have to do a coronation, of course, because we'll be a king. But it'll be a nice little bonus. We're going to commence preparations immediately because it'll cost less for our coronation. We're working on making a crown right now, so we're going to wait until that's done before we do our coronation. I can exact tribute from some tributaries. I'm going to ask them, see what they say. So we've gotten the third aspect of creation. So it does count if you build it as long as it's within your realm. So that's good to know because then I don't have to spend as much money on buildings. I'm just going to go for the cheapest things that I can. So I'm going to build these militia camps. And then over here we'll build probably the same thing because we'll get another one here really soon. So I'll probably do forestry. And that'll complete our building requirement, which will just mean that we'll have to have enough piety and we'll have to have 250 gold, which should not be too difficult for us to. And we haven't checked on this in a while, so I'm just going to show you. Our Mandala Radiance has gone up from, I believe it was 5 at the beginning of the video, so it is impacted by your level of devotion, which ours is, of course, Paragon of Virtue. I believe the level of devotion is the biggest part of the entire thing. I think it takes up almost 50% of your Radiance, so just something to keep in mind as you're progressing. So it looks like somebody's trying to lead my tributary astray, this guy. So I'm going to address this by force because they don't respect my divinity. And so they're going to have to be made to learn. I can also do this Mandala ritual because I'm not involved with the war, so I'm going to send myself up there while this war is going on to just sort of bonus stack some things. And we also just unlocked a Dynasty legacy, which we have Divine Aspirations is the new Dynasty legacy for the Mandala government. So we have Consecration as the first one. This is what it does. Click it. Gives you travel safety plus 10, 25 legitimacy per point of interest, and completing a pilgrimage also gives you 200 legitimacy. Great Devaraja, we, your humble servants, wish to raise a temple keep in your glorious name. The head woman says, gazing at the hills before us, but the ground remains unconsecrated. We need you to plant the first seed to fill the earth with your creation. A woman steps forward, fanning herself coyly. Oh, divine one, I willingly offer myself to help you complete the ritual for all of Boracon to see. So there's two options here. I can either lay with her immediately, or I can become ill, or I can just lay with her somewhere else. But I'm going to just do it out in the open. I did become ill, and it's fine. Because I have an excellent physician, I'm not worried about this. But I can vassalize a bunch of neighbors now, which I am, is something that I really wanted to do. So I'm going to vassalize you. I'm going to vassalize you. And I'm going to vassalize, I believe, you. Yes. And I wanted to vassalize all these people because I wanted to show you the Mandala government has a vassal limit, a pretty low one. So I'm one direct vassal above my vassal limit of 3. So as you can see, I have a little too many now. And what I'll have to do now is just grant a vassal to somebody. So I'm going to grant this person this vassal. And now I won't have the negative from that anymore. So now that we have the requirements met, if you see, if we're going to upgrade it from rank 1 to rank 2. So this is the bonuses that you'll get. Mothers and fathers gain piety when children are born into this house, which is a big bonus to get from the second rank of this, because as you notice, I have 15 children, but I wasn't getting one from all of them, but this will help with that. So I'm going to upgrade my Mandala aspect, which costs 250 prestige and 1,000 piety. And contributing to our capital temple complex upgrade costs us nothing because you basically already have to pay for the cost of it when you reach that aspect or the preceding aspect, as I mentioned earlier. So now we can fund and start the great project, which will take 4 years to complete. And now, for example, if you wanted to upgrade your Mandala aspect again, you do have to wait 5 years. I have to have 50 trade experience. I have to have fathered at least 10 children, which we already did. You have to have built at least 10 buildings, we're 5 away from that, commissioned or sponsored at least 1 artifact, and have 500 gold. Technically speaking, we could probably do that, so I will work on trying to do that, but I'm not too worried about it because the goal of this tutorial wasn't necessarily to get as high as possible. It was just to show you what you can do or how to do these things. But just as an example, I should potentially be able to achieve that also within this lifetime. I'm going to commission an artifact, a Chris, which is a weapon that we can commission because of our faith, which costs 100 gold. I also do have to build a couple buildings, so we might as well. And so there's something I wanted to talk about because we have 3 years left for our complex. And with any great project, there's sometimes bonus optional contributions that you can do. There's not one for this rank of the temple complex yet, but sometimes there'll be like an additional like war faces or something on the temple. And you have up until the halfway point to contribute to that. I didn't mention that earlier, but that's something to keep in mind. If you maybe can't afford it at the moment, but you could soon, just keep track of how far you are in that. And we've reached the maximum rank of divinity, which is great. So now I'm a religious icon, so that when I die, which should probably not be in too many years, probably a couple years, he'll end up being able to pass that on to his son, and his son will be able to reach the next rank of divinity, which is divine. And then if they happen to get all the way up to the maximum of divine, then their son could get demigod and so on. Something else you have the option of doing besides just going to war, obviously, is if somebody has a rival temple complex, you can also raise the temple complex to the ground, which will ruin their own radiance and will also give you a bunch of bonuses. Like you'll get 500 piety, 350 prestige, and 52 legitimacy. I'm not going to do that, but it's an option that you have. Our majestic temple is complete. The temple has expanded now, encompassing more shrines and ornaments, all carefully built, all reflecting reverence to me. My servants hover around me like shadows as I walk around the temple. Feel my power grow with each bowed head and respectfully averted glance. This is my time. Transcendence awaits. So we've contributed to the rite of worthiness. We gained 52 legitimacy and 75 devotion because that's all we contributed to. We gained 350 prestige, 104 legitimacy, and also 150 renown for our house, which allows us to unlock the next Dynasty legacy, which will increase tributary taxes, their opinion, the piety contribution, and embraces tributary acceptance. If I wanted to upgrade that again, I can just do that right now. I can plan the expansion already. I just need to have 727 piety, which I don't have, but I can get pretty quickly if I do another pilgrimage. So that's what I'm going to do in the background. And the requirements for this project upgrade will be very similar to the ones for the aspect of creation. So it looks like to get the right, we just have to have 500 gold and then have completed 10 buildings, which we've done 8. I have 2 more in the tank right now. Statues of creation would be something that I would have to add to this if I wanted to. So that's what I was talking about earlier, where there's like optional contributions that you can do. That's one of the options that you can do. And we already have people jumping in the great project. I'm not even going to force anybody this time. I'm just going to see who wants to jump in here and actually contribute, because they can just do it on their own. So at this point in my playthrough, because my character is aging, I'm trying to just fulfill what I can with him before we jump to the next character. But I have not looked at our Radiance in a while, so if you look, our Radiance is now 29. Level of Devotion Impact is 20, and our Majestic Temple is at 6 now. So we have quite a lot of people who would probably become tributaries if I asked them to. So we might as well ask a bunch of people if they would, just to see what they would say. Because it's only going to give us more money per month, which is what we want, and more piety per month, which is also what we want. Now at 500 gold, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in here. We're going to do the Rite of Worthiness, and we're just going to upgrade it for now. I'm going to wait a second, because it doesn't cost me anything to do the next aspect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably just go on another pilgrimage, try and get the bonuses from that, and then I can just do this little short one, which I'm just going to do the appropriate amount. I'm not going to try and spend too much money. This character's not going to live for that much longer, but if we can somehow get up to the third aspect of creation, that could be really big for us. You will notice when upgrading between these aspects, which is something I also want to mention here, where as we're nearing the end of the video, when you're upgrading from 1 and 2, you'll notice that you'll get a Noscence. You'll like gain a level of piety for something. And then 3 and 4 will be relatively the same. You'll just get minor bonuses, but 5 will give you another big bonus. And the biggest one will be you may instantly complete the stewardship part of the succession trials, which will show you the succession trials once this character dies, and that will be the end of this video. All right, so I have 649 gold, I have 2,500 piety, and now I can upgrade my Mandala aspect to rank 3. So we were able to do 2 aspect increases with one character, which is really solid. And honestly, this tree, I would say, is significantly easier than the aspect of destruction one that I did on a different character, because the biggest thing you have to do is just commission artifacts, build some buildings, and then have children. But the 10 children is really easy. Having 750 gold maybe isn't as easy, but now with this, I can just wait till we get enough piety, and then I'll upgrade this and add statues of creation, and we should be good. I can also do this as my heir, so I don't necessarily have to do it just as this character. And because of an event, I literally am now able to make the statues of creation, so we'll do that, and it'll increase my stewardship by 1. So how's my son? He's not great at stewardship. In fact, he has no money. And we haven't even looked at it, but if you look at the map, you can see that the Angkor temple does look different now. So it was a little bit smaller before, and now it's expanded. And then once this upgrades again, you'll see it grow even more. We're near the end of this character's lifespan. He's 73 years old. It's been 26 years since we started the game. He obviously became a religious icon. He upgraded his aspect twice, as we saw, and as on his way to increasing the temple complex to its 2nd rank as well, which is, or I guess it's 3rd rank technically, which is really cool. And I think to cap it off, to round it out, I think I'm going to work on subjugating this man, bringing him under tribute. And it looks like we captured them, so this 7-month tributary war is done, and now I have quite a big tributary under my belt here in Champa, which is really great. And I can also demand a conversion of him if I wanted to, but I'd have to send him 225 gold if I wanted him to gain 44 opinion of me, which is a lot, and I would prefer if we didn't spend all that money as soon as we're about to die, because my heir is not very good with his money, and he has negative 100, so it's something to keep in mind. I'll probably also try to get this guy to become a tributary. So now our realm is, as you can see, if we look at our Radiance map, is the size of this entire peninsula down here, which is really lovely, really good size. And we're about to finish our temple complex in about 50 days, so you'll get to see the 2nd rank, and then you'll also get to see what it looks like. Or I guess the 3rd rank, I think, is what it would technically be. If we look at it on the map, it'll tell you right here. So we're working on the temple grounds, I believe. You should be able to see that improve in real time. And there you go. The temple, now expanding into a larger compound, is bustling with a general commotion. Now there's room to house dozens of faraway travelers as well as the local clergy. The daily worship never ceases. The travelers here to see me, the clergy here to worship me. The crowds diligently part to let me through, and I pause briefly to touch a few bowed heads along my path. My people, my followers, my divinity. See, and as you can see, our little Angkor here has expanded pretty nicely, and we can actually plan the next expansion if we want to. We just don't have enough piety. But I'm not going to worry about that. What I am going to worry about is when this guy dies, showing you the very last bit of this tutorial, which will be the succession, the Mandala succession, which specifically impacts your piety. And at this point in the tutorial, surely you can see the loop of what you're going to be doing gameplay-wise. You're going to be working on your aspect, you're going to be working on your Grand Temple complex, working on expanding your realm, getting more vassals, creating duchies so that you can have vassals underneath those vassals so that you can maintain your 3 vassal limit, and then also just going on pilgrimages and sort of just playing into whatever playstyle it happens to be. Obviously with this character, I've not had to go to war a lot to really expand my realm whatsoever. I can pretty much just embrace people as tributaries and not have to do very much of anything. We should get a nice bit of piety from this pilgrimage that we're on as well. And this character's lasted a lot longer than I expected him to. 76 years, he's doing really well. Concluded our pilgrimage, we gained 881 piety. And now we can finish. 2 buildings I think I'm waiting for. And now that I'm so powerful, I'm gonna start trying to demand a bunch of people convert, because it'll just be useful. And unfortunately, we did not manage to get the next aspect or increase our temple because we have passed on at the age of 76. Now we are continuing as his son. And when doing so, this will trigger the Mandala succession, the last part of this tutorial. My father, Jaya Varman, is no more. He has ascended from this plane of existence, leaving it to me to step up, channel the aspect of creation, and lead our realm, and place it in the annals of history. I shall undertake the trials showing just how divine and omnipresent I am by excelling in a multitude of aspects. A chill creeps down my spine as I momentarily consider the alternative. So automatically, we actually start off as a religious icon, and through these trials, you have the potential to lower your level Obviously, my maximum level of devotion is still divine, so it's not necessarily a problem. But if I happen to fail this, I will lose a level of devotion, as you can see. So it's kind of a challenge. And what's nice for the bonus, and there's a couple different ways that you can get bonuses to this. The first one being, if you get all the way to the 5th aspect of creation, you'll automatically be able to pass the stewardship challenge. And then if you happen to get to the end of the dynastic legacies, you can also just instantly complete one of the challenges. So you're basically guaranteed to pass every time. But we are on the Mandala succession, losing one's head. We are in the middle of the creation ritual, celebrating my ascendant to the throne. I intermingle with the crowd, benevolently smiling at my followers as they step forward with their offerings. A small child emerges from the crowd, wrapping her arms around my waist in an indiscriminate hug. The girl then looks up at me and asks, "Maharaja, what did happen to your 5th head?" Her caretaker looks petrified at the insolence, but I notice everyone in the chamber perking up, eagerly awaiting my reply. Let me tell you. And they were unimpressed, so I actually lost a level of devotion, so I'm now just a paragon of virtue, although I can still reach divine, so not a big deal. My spear catches the flickering light of the torches, and the silent crowd eagerly observes my ash-smeared face. A sea of flowers surrounds me as the conch shell emits a low, vibrating sound. I am expected to perform the cosmic dance, the dance of destruction, symbolizing the divine duality, the destruction of the old, creating space for the new to bud and grow. The cylindrical stone at the center of the clearing emanates a calm coolness as I approach. Right. Let's take a stab at this. And I failed again, so I lost another level of devotion. The attendees are kneeling in neat rows, and a low chanting is heard throughout the chamber. During my ascendant ritual, I gently walk around, lightly touching a handful of foreheads, attempting to instill peace and serenity. In the midst of this, 2 men are having a loud argument outside over a piece of land. Their ruckus has caused the room to slowly turn their attention to me, eagerly observing how I will deal with this disturbance of the peace. We'll try this again. And this one we did convincingly succeed at, so we didn't lose too much. However, we did pretty poorly. The chamber explodes with murmurs among groups of servants, courtiers that I have always considered my friends and loyal subjects. Their eyes peer at me suspiciously, as I have proven not to be as divine as my father, Jaya Varman. I hang my head slightly, momentarily anxious for what is to come. Then I realize how that may be perceived, and I straighten my back, defiantly meeting the eye of every murmuring party in the room. There's a lot of confidence to restore here, and the road ahead will be bumpy, but I am ready. All of your tributaries have abandoned me, and I lost 2 levels of devotion. And so that's definitely one of the consequences of failing to appease the succession. So I've lost all of those tributaries that my father had just gained, and I also now have a longer road to reach divine, which of course, again, once I were to die, if I reach divine and die in an appropriate way, my heir would be able to get demigod. And that's going to be it for this tutorial. I hope that this was helpful to you. Just as a refresher, we talked about our Radiance level, we talked about the aspects, we talked about your temple complex and how to increase those, we talked about tributaries and what you can do with them, we talked about pilgrimages, we talked about rituals, we talked about a lot of stuff, and hopefully this will help you succeed down here in Southeast Asia and play with this new wonderful Mandala government. And I hope that you sincerely enjoyed it, because it was a ton of fun. As always, I'm Soul Tomato. Thank you once again to Paradox for sponsoring this video and for letting me do a tutorial for you guys, and I will happily see you in the next one. Enjoy all under heaven.